Good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric speaking. Welcome to that webinar. It's 5 p.m. sharp here in continental Europe, and we're going to give everybody 1 or 2 more minutes so that we have a quorum to actually kickstart that webinar. Thank you for your patience. Again, welcome everybody joining this webinar. Thank you very much. We're going to give another minute for giving everybody a chance to join, and then we're going to start. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. So 5:02, and as a French guy, I always want to be as much on time as possible, which is always a challenge. So welcome everybody. My name is Eric Bloom. I'm the practice manager for the Qualtrics practice here at AKT. So we're super excited about having that webinar this week because a couple of weeks back, both Karen, Jagrit, and myself had the privilege to go to X4 in Salt Lake City, which is the main customer event by Qualtrics, where we were more than 10,000, I would like to say, professional in experience management, joining together to share, engage, discuss the best and the latest of the experience with experience management, and hear about the latest of the development of the technology of Qualtrics for now and for tomorrow. So during this webinar, we're going to focus on perhaps the topic that was most discussed during that event, which is about how experience management, now boosted with AI, embedded into the Qualtrics platform, can radically change the frontline experience of customers on the job of the people working on the front line. So I actually like to go to the next slide, Karen, and ask everybody that one question. What is it you see here? What we see is a watermelon. Okay, it's a nice watermelon. It kind of have a smile. It doesn't have many seeds. It's a little bit lonely. But the good news is, as any satisfaction index, we can say that it's green. At the outside, it's really green. But when we look in the inside, it's kind of red. This is the kind of indicator on what happened when you actually ask yourself 2 key questions when you think about the NPS, the Net Promoter Score. How happy, how would you recommend my company, my service to other people? So it's green from the outside, but because the result can be pretty good. It can be 20, it can be 40, it can be 80, it's green. But the question is, can you answer the question why? Why it is only 20? Why it is 80? Is it a solid 80 or a false 80? How do you know? So the whole purpose of that webinar will be to actually understand beyond one number, why that number? And potentially ask a third question, beyond the what, a number, on the why, what is making that number, why is that number good, why is that number bad, and actually understanding in details what are the customers saying, what are the customer experiencing, how they feel, how intensively they feel about that feedback. To answer the third question, which is how. How can we sustain with that good feedback? How can we sustain that experience? Or how can we improve that experience in the most efficient way so that we can actually deliver a sustainable, constant business growth? So with that said, if we go to the next slide, I'm going to go very quickly now to say that the introduction will be about that. Understand analytics and customer care, the changes, the trends, and thank you very much, Jagrit, for actually joining us, sharing that, and understanding the next Gen 6 and how AI is going to transform that experience, so that we can actually then have some Qualtrics XM for customer care demo that Karen will help us go through, and then discuss a customer case study. So I hope that by the end of that webinar, you will have actionable takeaway that will actually drive you to think about how you can, with more confidence, answer the three questions. How are we doing? Why are we doing? And how can we make it better in a sustainable way and in an efficient way? So next slide, we'll actually just quickly introduce Qualtrics, by far the global leader in experience management, leader in the voice of the customer, leader in the voice of employee experience. And why we believe it's very important, because actually delivering a best-in-class experience is not only about technology, it's about people. It's about people doing business with other people, servicing people, supporting your customers. So it's very, very important that you understand how well you're doing with your employees to make sure that they're doing the best job when they are interacting with the customers. So that is what Qualtrics is doing. It's one platform consolidating it all. And you can see that with 4,500 employees and a massive amount of investment in technology, we are actually, working together in a partnership with the best in class for that domain. Next slide. Who are we, AKT? We are a very loyal, committed partner to Qualtrics. So we were very happy in 2021 to be considered as a breakthrough partner because of all the innovation that we bring into the market together with Qualtrics. We were thrilled to be named Gold Partner in 2023. And what we're doing, connecting employee experience with customer experience, is helping our customers in the like of L'Oreal, Stellantis, Nokia, BMW, those customers who are committed to deliver first-class experience to their customers, because committed to deliver best-in-class experience to their employees. Next slide. So before we go into the webinar, we think that it is a journey. So potentially you may feel during all this webinar that some of the things are perhaps above and beyond what you can deliver today. We think it's a journey. So our job at AKT is to help you understand and assess where you currently stand with the use of Qualtrics or other technologies, and pave the way, establishing a North Star target, pave the way with your organization, with your process, with the technology, to a world where you can continuously improve on your business performance thanks to employee experience and customer experience. So next slide. Let me introduce our panelists quickly. So Jagrit is driving global strategic engagement with Qualtrics. Prior to that, he was also the spearhead for everything related to sentiment analytics and experience management with a company called Clarabridge that has been since acquired by Qualtrics. So he has an amazing experience dealing with large accounts, on specifically in the way of conversation management and everything. And Karen is joining us, CCXP. It's the head of our advisory practice, and she's engaged in most of the customers that you've seen the logo on the slide. So she's coming with a wealth of experience. So I don't want to take too much of the time. Most important is for me to actually now pass the mic to Jagrid. Jagrid, thank you so much for being with us. And I can't wait hearing your presentation and sharing your experience with the community here.
Thank you so much, Eric, and thank you, Karen, for giving me the opportunity to present here along with both of you. And thank you to all the attendees here joining from wherever you might be joining us. So I guess good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where across the globe you might be. So like Eric mentioned, I'd like to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes just talking to you about customer experience in the world of customer care and some of the challenges and trends that we see in this space as we work with many of our customers across the globe. Now, we're talking about this title slide, and normally when you have slides like this, you have pictures of customers, in different situations, maybe some very happy customers, some very unhappy customers, because things can go wrong as well. In this particular scenario, Karen and I were talking about, it'd be nice to maybe take a little bit of a change and put the focus on the agents or the team members or your colleagues who are actually providing that service to your customers, right? And really not just looking at it from the lens of the customer, but looking at it from their lens as well. And so as we go through the webinar here today, hopefully you'll see that we are looking at both views of it, both sides of the coin, so to say, both from a customer perspective as well as from an employee, team member, and agent perspective, right? So Karen, if we can move on to the next slide. I thought I'd start with a few key trends that we have seen organizations focus on, right? And these trends that we're going to be talking about on this slide actually are the result of a research study we did last year, where we talked to about 33,000 consumers across 29 countries, and really some key themes came out, right, which were very telling, and which really, if you think about it, inform our strategy, inform the strategy of AKT in terms of how we think about customer care, how we think about CX in the world of customer care. And that's something that we're passing on to our customers to inform them so that they can go ahead and take advantage of this knowledge and this information to design what their strategy might be for the next coming years. So the first trend that we noticed here is that empathy beats efficiency in the pursuit of customer satisfaction. Now, if you think about it, right, if we think about customer care, if we think about contact centers, there's been such a focus over the last 5 to 10 years on efficiency, on cost reduction, right? How do we go ahead and improve average handle time? How do we go ahead and improve first contact resolutions, right? Where we've almost lost, I think, the human aspect to it. And I think what this trend points to is the importance of that human connection, importance of aspects like empathy, understanding emotion, understanding sentiment, understanding the intent that a customer is demonstrating to you in terms of why they're calling in, right? So that the impact of that in beating efficiency in customer satisfaction, I think, is really important to recognize. The second aspect is, that unresolved customer issues are now costing your business more than ever, and it's a trend that just keeps on going up, right? And so the cost of resolving these issues is becoming more and more. The issues are becoming more and more complex because of all the various channels. And that kind of takes us to the next one, which is that consumers demand to be heard, right? And what that results in is the contact center is an absolute gold mine for organizations. But it's not only that the consumers demand to be heard. They don't just demand to be heard, they demand that something actually happen, some change actually happen based on the feedback that they're providing through all the calls, through all the chats, through all the emails that they're sharing with you. If we move on to the fourth trend, Karen, omni-channel experience. This is something we've been all talking about for many years now, but I think there's a realization that omni-channel experience isn't one size fits all. It's different depending on which organization, the type of organization, the type of functions within the organization. So it's really important to think about that and not treat omni-channel experience as sort of a cookie cutter thing, but one that needs to be highly customized based on the business, based on the function, and based on the specific customer journey. Now, the last one, and let's face it, no conversation today, right, would be complete without the two-letter word, right, AI, right, and more specifically, generative AI. What's happened in the last 12 to 18 months has been so exciting in the world of technology, but more specifically as it relates to the applicability of that technology, the applicability of AI and generative AI to the worlds of customer care, to the worlds of customer experience. I cannot think of any area of business, right, that is more impacted and more positively impacted with generative AI as contact centers, customer experience, and customer care are. So it's really exciting, and we'll drill into that in a lot more detail in this webinar. Now, the reality is your agent very often is your key to customer satisfaction, right? And let's look at some further research that came out as part of that study. People who are very satisfied with their agent's helpfulness are 6.2 times as likely to be satisfied. People very satisfied with their agent's empathy are 5.2 times as likely to be satisfied. You couple that last statistic with the fact that 42% are actually unhappy with empathy shown by their agents. You see the potential you have to improve that human connection, right? And the impact that human connection can have on customer satisfaction. If you can increase that or decrease that 42% to 21%, right? You couple that with the 5.2x, that's a huge potential improvement in customer satisfaction and the experience that you're providing to your customers. On the flip side of things, if you look at it, people very satisfied with their call wait times are only 2.7x as likely to be satisfied. So here again, very clearly, we're seeing the focus shift to that human connection, to empathy, to helpfulness, to emotion, to sentiment, and more away from efficiency. And that's something we're going to try and figure out how we can help organizations with. Now, with this one, the other trend was that you got to hunt out those experience gaps, right? And if you don't do that, you risk customer churn. And the reality is the best place to identify experience gaps is the contact center, right? Very often the contact center or customer care is defined or described as the home of broken journeys, right? If something breaks on digital, it ends up in the contact center. If something breaks in a store, right, or in a product, guess where it goes to? It goes to the contact center, right? Now, before we go into the two chart numbers there, I'm going to start at the bottom. We know that 80% of customers say they'll switch brands as a result of bad customer experience, right? And actually 43% will churn after just a single negative interaction. So keep those numbers in mind. Those are big numbers. Now you couple that with the 36% are not satisfied with their customer service experience, and 55% of customer service issues go unresolved. You combine those 36 and 55 with that 80% that you see down there, and that's a huge negative impact, but also a huge potential in terms of being able to improve the customer satisfaction, improve the customer experience, improve the customer service interactions, and the positive impact that can have on your business on the other side of things. So how do we translate some of those trends into how we can help you maximize the value of your contact center? One, let's focus on those human connections to drive long-term loyalty, not just operational efficiency. Put that untapped data to work. All those millions of calls, chats, emails, those are telling you invaluable things, not just about contact center operations, but about the entire business. What do customers like about products? What do customers not like about your website or your app? What do customers like or not like about your stores? All that is coming into your contact center, right? And then empower agents to spot and fix costly unresolved issues, right? Those unresolved issues we talked about on the last slide or a couple of slides ago, right? We need to be able to empower agents to be able to fix those quickly, give them the tools, give them the training, give them the coaching, right? To be able to go ahead and address those in real time. And then lastly, get everyone to care. This is not just the problem of agents, right? This is the agents, the team leaders, the QA analysts, and outside the contact center and outside customer care, the customer experience team, anybody else who's interacting with your customers on the front line, and all the way to your executives, you got to get them to care about building those human connections. If we move on, Karen. Now this slide is a little cryptic, right? CC, CX, what does that mean, right? What I'll say is the CC stands for customer care or contact center. CX stands for customer experience, of course. Now the reality is 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe slightly longer ago, right? Those two organizations, the customer experience, customer care organizations, they rarely work together. They were off doing their own things. You know, customer experience teams were focused on NPS, they were focused on sentiment, CSAT. Contact center teams were focused on operational efficiency, and they rarely talk to each other, right? And I remember 5 or 6 years ago, we decided, you know what, that's a huge, huge mistake, and we need to get those teams to start working together, talking to each other. And now what we actually see is a very different situation, right? In many organizations, they're actually part of the same team. And even if they're not part of the same team, they're actually working very, very closely together. And the benefits of that are huge, right? So if you think about it from the contact center perspective, or actually let's start with the customer experience standpoint. For the customer experience team, the single richest source of customer feedback is the contact center. I would say 70 to 80% of all customer feedback is going into the contact center, right? For the customer care team, right? They've, like I said, been focused on aspects like average handle time, first contact resolution, and now they're getting into more of those human side of things. The best people to learn about those human side of things are actually the customer experience folks who've been working on aspects like sentiment, emotion, empathy, effort for many, many years. And the contact center teams can actually learn the best practices, learn the methodologies, learn the implementation best practices and tips and tricks to be able to make the most out of those human connections, right? So there's a lot of customer centricity impact in those two teams working together. The other thing I'd say is it's not just about calls. We talked a lot about calls, but let's face it, right now, with what's going on in contact centers, with what's going on with digital transformation, more and more of the digital channels are actually flowing right into the contact center, right? Chats, chatbots, emails, right? Messaging applications. In some cases, social media is also being responded to by contact centers. And it's really important to understand, at the end of the day, all those are just conversations. And that's just the way we would analyze calls. We're going to analyze the digital conversations as well to be able to help you understand how to optimize them, to be able to help you understand how to use those to drive intelligence across the organization and to drive up the customer experience. But it's not just about the digital conversation. Sorry, if we just go back, Karen, it's also about using those conversations to understand self-service opportunities and better optimize those self-service opportunities. And then lastly, as it relates to the contact center, right, is to go ahead and help contact centers evolve to being support centers into value drivers. One way contact centers can provide that value is to go ahead and tap into that, that gold mine of data and tell the organization what's going on in different parts of the organization that isn't working. But the other way that is, I see that the webcam has been closed. Does everybody still see my webcam? Ah, there we go. So my webcam was closed there. But it's also to go ahead and provide value by not just providing support, but by going ahead and being a generator of growth, by going ahead and generator of revenue, by going ahead and improving conversion rates, for example. This is just one example of saying, here's calls that we're looking at from a sales perspective, and which agents did well from an objection handling perspective, which agents and which calls did not go well from an objection handling perspective, and how can we use that to better learn, to better improve conversion rates, to better coach agents to go ahead and improve sales conversion rates, right? So that's where we get from support center to being into the value driving area. Karen, if we can move on. At the end of the day, it's all about approaching things from an individual perspective. Yes, some of those metrics are important in an aggregate level, but at an individual level, understanding the sentiment, understanding the emotion, understanding the effort, that's where you can actually go ahead and make a change and go ahead and close the loop. Now, the one other area I'd say that's been very interesting over the last few years, I'd say probably more so that since COVID, is the focus on vulnerability, right? Not just vulnerability of customers, right? Where you're looking at things like financial trouble, where you're looking at mental health concerns and being able to recognize those in conversations. But it's also going ahead and understanding the vulnerability on the side of your agents, right? Which of your agents are potentially being abused by your customers, right? So it's really important to look at these more, I'd say, intricate aspects of the human connection, not just sentiment, not just emotion, not just effort, but more evolved aspects like vulnerability of your customers as well as of your team members. Now, moving on, the great news is if you do some of these things, the value is immense, right? And I've just given a few examples. We have customer dish networks who increased revenue by 12 million by going ahead and identifying impact on reduced churn and increasing NPS. Another customer in the B2B space actually reduced their customer calls by 30%. And we have a whole bunch of customers who are going ahead and actually driving operational efficiency by using the same capabilities to actually go ahead and drive automation in, for example, things like post-call work, right? So the number of value drivers is immense, and we're happy to get into those with you in more detail at a future state. Now, how does this all work, right? And I'll summarize this really quick. On the left-hand side, you have where we're listening to all the sources of feedback, right? Whether that be surveys, whether that be calls, emails, chats, but we're also looking at behavioral data, right? Clicks on an app, click through where customers are getting frustrated on a website. And we're tying that to operational data, customer demographics, information about your agents. All that comes into our artificial intelligence layer where we enrich it to be able to make sense of all that feedback and to talk about all the enrichments that I've been talking about, like effort, intent, tolerance, scoring. We then use that for benchmarks across industries, but we also use that in what we call the experience directory, which is going ahead and creating a profile of each of your customers and all their interactions. So you can go ahead and personalize future interactions. You can go ahead and have that history of everything that a customer has done with you and how they felt in each of those interactions. You can use that to analyze conversations. You can use that for root cause analysis to drive to understand predictive drivers, like what are the predictors of churn, right? And then with the Xflow capability, you can actually go ahead and use that to drive a whole bunch of workflows, right? And a whole bunch of closed loop actions, whether those are on a one-to-one basis, right, between your agent and your customer, or on a one-to-many basis to go ahead and improve different aspects of your business operations. If we move on, the artificial intelligence layer really, if we think about it, helps in a few different ways. It helps in understanding the what, right? It helps in understanding feelings. It helps in understanding conversations, and it helps in understanding intent, right? Fundamentally, that's what the artificial intelligence that we've been working on helps out with. Now, if we move on to the next slide, those artificial intelligence capabilities can be used in so many different ways, right? It can be used to drive efficiency, like modernizing quality management, improving first contact resolution, average handle time. It can be used to help to reduce risk by going ahead and modernizing complaints and compliance identification, improving script adherence. You can use it to improve commercial outcomes, like reducing churn through deeper root cause analysis, or improving your customer acquisition, cross-sell, upsell opportunities, as well as a whole bunch of unparalleled insights that Karen is actually going to give you an example of as she goes through her slides and the video demonstration. But I'll just end with one last slide about artificial intelligence, right? Or actually two last slides, apologies. One aspect is, when it comes to artificial intelligence, probably the most important aspect of artificial intelligence, right? And one of the great value drivers that we believe we can provide to customers is the value of the data. And when I say the data, I don't mean the public data that's out there on the World Wide Web, because if you think about it, generative AI is largely built on models that are based on all the public World Wide Web data out there, right? The reality is what Qualtrics has is we have 750 billion interactions, right, that are represented in tokens of text collected every year. We have 15.3 billion profiles. We're looking at experience data. We're looking at sentiment, emotion, effort at an individual level, right? And you see the number of pieces of feedback and workflows, right? Our goal is to go ahead and take that data and take the general large language models that are out there and go ahead and fine tune them and optimize them and make them way, way more accurate for the worlds of customer experience, for the worlds of customer care, for the worlds of customer service, right? The last slide I'll end with is just to say that, look, artificial intelligence isn't just a new buzzword for us, right? It's not a new buzzword for the customer care industry, right? We've been doing this since about 2016 to go ahead and start leveraging artificial intelligence for a variety of different aspects, like extracting language and context features, basically natural language understanding. Then over the last, I'd say, 2022, 2023, we started using it to drive automation and real-time agent assistance, right? And really, in our third generation of artificial intelligence, which is with generative AI, we're taking things to a whole nother level with, for example, executive report generation and dashboard summarization. The ability to be able to ask and have a conversation with your dashboards, right? Ask questions. Hey, how can I best coach my agents, right? Just a simple English question, right? The simple English or whatever language answer that you would like back. Conversational feedback, artificial intelligence generated segments, right? Enabling managers to quickly focus on key coaching areas, and then going ahead and using artificial intelligence to actually close the loop with recommended responses, for example, or recommended action plans, right? So that's where this is going, and we're really, really excited about the future with artificial intelligence for customer care, for customer experience, and for employee experience, because they all really are so correlated. And with that, I'll hand over to Karen. And again, thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jagrit. I'll be taking you to the next part of our webinar, and we'll share with you what we call the next generation customer experience and how AI is transforming this experience. And I wanted to start by sharing a story that I heard from a Porsche CMO, Robert Adler, in the Qualtrics conference 2 weeks ago. And he was one of the main speakers. Obviously, Porsche is a Qualtrics customer. And until recently, like any other organization, they used to track customer experience by looking at the customer satisfaction as their main KPI. But they understood the satisfaction is not enough. They have 90% satisfied customers. It's not enough to predict their behavior. And they came to realize that the key driver, the key KPI for understanding the future behavior is customer enthusiasm, which is talking about the emotional engagement that the customer has with the brand. So while the drivers for satisfaction are the accurate information and timely delivery, the drivers for enthusiasm are personalized dialogues at vehicle delivery or at the contact center or any other touch point. These are just examples. And from understanding that, they've shifted from measuring satisfaction to measuring enthusiasm. And this is the new KPI and the single score for the management and trigger for decision-making, customer enthusiasm. And you might ask yourself, how do I measure enthusiasm? They are not going to ask each and every customer, how enthusiastic are you about us? So this is why they're using Qualtrics. With the AI and automation capabilities, they're using Qualtrics to first analyze large volume open text. It could be either from the surveys that they send or any other source that Jagrit already mentioned, like the call center, transcripts or social media, etc. So this is one capability. And the second one, which is extremely important, is once you have this understanding of customer enthusiasm, they move very fast to fix things and also make fundamental changes to achieve optimization. And this is the combination of AI and automation. This is part, and I'll show you other parts as well, but these two are a huge part of the next generation customer experience. So this is just a photo of me, if you don't recognize, standing near the Macan 4, which is the all-electric vehicle that Porsche launched early this year, and they brought it specifically to X4. And there is one thing that you can take from this webinar, if you want to do yourself a huge favor, is book a seat at X4 2025. It's going to happen in March, and you will hear many thought leaders and great examples of customer and employee experience. At this point, you might think, okay, so Porsche is a luxury brand, so they are very comfortably talking about customer enthusiasm, but what about regular brands like any other brand? So a recent HBR study revealed that emotional connection matters more than customer satisfaction. And it's true not only for premium or luxury brands like Porsche, but it was checked with other industries as well. And customers who are emotionally connected with the brand are 52% more valuable than those who are just, quote unquote, highly satisfied. So even in your organization, if you measure customer satisfaction and you reach the scores of 80 plus, 90 plus, this is not enough. You really need to move to start measuring emotions and emotional connection. And the only way to do that is using this technology and the tools that analyze the data and enable you to understand what's behind there, the emotions and the intent. Talking about a contact center and talking about emotional connection, as we already mentioned at the beginning, it's not only about the customer experience. We already know from lots of research that employee experience has a huge impact on customer experience, for sure. And we know that 43% of customers are not satisfied with their customer service experience. So again, there is a lot to be done here, improving the customer experience. But there is also the impact of the customer experience on the employee experience. And 1/3 of employees say customers have become ruder over the past year. What we want to do is to handle these two sides of the equation, is to help employees have better experience, better emotional connection, help them deliver better customer experience, and make sure that this customer experience have positive effect on the employee experience. So at this point, you might say, think, okay, what do we need to do? So 2/3, almost 2/3, 63% of consumers say companies need to do a better job of listening to feedback. And I know with many of our customers, they're saying, okay, we're already sending so much surveys. There is a small percentage of customers that are answering them. We don't want to create survey fatigue. It takes so much time to analyze all this feedback. And then it takes so much time to move to action. So do we really need more data? And the good or bad news, depends what you're going to do after the webinar ends, is that you're going to have lots and lots of data. 80% of customer data will be unstructured by 2025. Currently, most organizations just deal with the structured data, i.e. surveys. So knowing that you are going to have much more data, that you need to do much better job at listening to your customers, and that this data is not going to come in a format of more surveys, which is, again, structured data, what are you going to do? The good news is Jared already mentioned that in the contact center, you're sitting on a gold mine. And if this information, the data in the contact center is utilized and understood, you can first empower agents to transform customer relationships, then resolve issues quickly, and build seamless journeys that keep your customers happy and loyal. So you have the win-win of both the employee experience and the customer experience. How do you do the transition to that? So we're talking about the current situation and the way that we're going to move to the next generation of customer experience. In the current situation, mostly what we see with customers is that there are isolated periodic research projects, like it could be the annual NPS studies or even the monthly NPS studies, or post-support transactions like the automatic survey sent from the contact center. But it takes a lot of time to analyze them and to act upon them. And the reports that are finally distributed to relevant stakeholders are static and are what we call a very shallow analysis, like descriptive statistics of the data. In the next generation, we're going to talk about embedded human empathy. Actually, we're already talking about this, and you understood previously the importance of empathy. And this is going to be achieved by an ongoing flow of human-centric insights that are embedded into every decision-making and operating process. And the question is how you get there. And in order to do that, we want to present you with a blueprint of how to build the next generation customer experience program. And this blueprint follows the three core activities that happen in every customer experience program. It's the listen, understand, and act. So we're going to move from static surveying, like most organizations are currently doing, to dynamic instrumentation that includes both solicited and unsolicited feedback, both structured and unstructured feedback from multiple sources. It's going to be dynamic, it's going to be personalized, and you will see a demo in the coming slides. Next, when it comes to analyzing the data, from repetitive reporting like the monthly or probably even weekly reports, we are going to move to actionable intelligence that is based on AI, tailored to the relevant stakeholders, with insights and with a very quick analysis that will enable them to move to the last part, which is the act. And currently, most organizations are already struggling with periodic improvement. But once this technology will be embedded and integrated into the operational systems, most of the processes will be automatic, will be in real time, will be ongoing, and will be integrated to the processes without the human intervention. So let's take it one by one and see what are the implications. Here you will start seeing a demo, a very short demo of the Qualtrics functionality that is relevant for the next generation with AI embedded. And you see that this has taken information. This is the first flight of this customer, and they are giving their feedback. And the system creates conversation. It's not a static survey. It creates a conversation with the customer, understand exactly what was given in the open text feedback, and then automatically suggest a compensation for this poor experience. And of course, this is not one size fits all. This is the system taking into account personalized actions based on the individual journey, segment, communication preference, and real-time behavior. It dynamically adjusts the questions, the channels, and timing, and tailoring the content and the form of the survey. And it captured the specific data the CX program and business need to fuel the most important decisions and actions. And as you see, it's not one size fits all. It's tailored and provides the relevant actions at the relevant time. Another aspect is understanding there is, again, so much more data, but we want to create 3 types of data. We call this box data. And box stands for behavioral data, like the real-time behavior of the customer on the website, and what he or she clicks. O stands for the operational data from the operational systems. It could be from the CRM, it could be from the data warehouse, it could be from the billing system, it could be from the contact center system. And X stands for the experience data, which is the subjective data and the emotions and the intent that the customer has. So organizations need to start adapting and taking into consideration all these types of data. And in order to create a clarity about this, we divide this to 2x2 metrics. The first is looking at whether it's a solicited channel or an unsolicited channel, and then whether it's unstructured data or structured data. And of course, currently, most of the organizations in static surveying already use the NPS relationship study or the post-event, like after the contact center support event survey. Sometimes there is also open-ended survey response, but currently it demands a lot of manual work. So this is why it's almost not done at all. Some of the operational data that more progressed organizations take into account is the customer demographic, and also some of their information about renewal or churn or conversion, etc. But moving to the next generation with dynamic instrumentation, you get lots of other types of data, much more unsolicited channels like the digital session replays, more of unstructured data like the brand mentions prompted by category label, more real-time digital behavior, and more operational data like the support ticket data. And all this is taken now into account and can be analyzed to understand the key drivers and what is behind, the why behind the what. Which moves us to the analysis and to understanding what impacts the customer experience and also the agent experience. And one of the things that the system can do here is do the root cause analysis. And when we see organizations, even in the largest contact centers in the world, we see only once every several months a root cause analysis being done, because again, it's a huge manual effort to take all the data into consideration, do all the tests and the statistics that is needed, and you need very qualified people like the data scientists to do that. So it's not something that is going on an ongoing basis. But if you use AI and machine learning based natural language understanding, then you can have a much better insight, much quicker into root causes, and then you can move very quickly to improvements because you know exactly where the problem is. Another thing that you might find interesting is that organizations currently are looking at using more analysis capabilities like the text and speech analytics, generative AI, the digital experience, the sentiment analysis, the journey analytics, and the predictive analytics. For all, you see more than 50% of CX professionals saying that they're going to use this, not in the coming 2 years, but in the coming months, in the coming year. So again, it's already here. You need to move quickly to adapt. And going back to the watermelon NPS that Eric mentioned at the beginning of the call, when we first heard this terminology by one of our customers, really were shocked. Okay, what do you mean by that? And they said, on the outside, it looks very well, but inside, and it's very hard for us to get inside and understand where are the red parts. And this is why they use Qualtrics AI tools. And this is what I want to show you here is a very short demo. This is taken from the demo environment of Qualtrics. So you don't see here lots of data, but I use it just to make a point about how things are done. So on the one hand, you see that the score is very high. The NPS score is 64. It's extremely high. I know many companies that would really jealous a score like that. The system does the analysis of the top topics for positive NPS or top topics for a negative NPS. And the way that it's doing that, it's not by asking so many questions. It's just about analyzing using the natural language understanding capabilities of the system, what the customers are saying, the reason, the why question, the open text question. This is, again, just a small example. This could be done for any text or voice, of course. And you see here that even when you look at the negative NPS, still there is a positive, even the lowest score is still positive, and in this case it's the cost of service. But when you select and when you start doing the drill down and select a specific brand, and it could be a specific brand with a specific geography or any other attribute that you want to slice your data by, you see that with the, for example, 3 Series, it's a completely different picture. And for them, the communication with their dealers, with their agents, has a very low NPS score, and this affects the overall NPS, which is, again, still very good. So this was just a very short example to show you how you can create a much better understanding. Going back to the agent, what about the agent? How can we empower them and help gain a better productivity? So the system provide guidance. You will see this in a demo in a few slides. The system can provide guidance and help them with the next step of what they should suggest to the customer. It is giving them a score, which is not just how satisfied your customers were from you, but a very deep understanding, personalized understanding as to what are the things that they need to do better in order to improve the customer experience. When it comes to assessing the team capabilities, in most organizations, the managers could hear maybe 1 to 3% of conversations and give feedback to their agents, but now using AI, the system can analyze 100% of conversations and provide insights that can allow acting in real time. And finally, it takes the work out of the agent because the system do the recaps and summaries of the call, so the agent doesn't have to do that, and he or she can move to the next call more quickly, hence increasing productivity. And of course, the next agent can pick up where the previous one left. I wanted to share with you this architecture of how it works, for example, in a travel agency. So you see here that the first phase, the system catches real-time call in the contact center and then uses the analysis with the transcription engine and the NLP enrichment and provides real-time recommendations and then triggers notifications to the agent desktop as to what he or she should do. But the system also takes into account, as I mentioned, the behavioral data and the operational data and the experience data from the contact center and from other sources, and provides more data to the engine to work the best that it can, and also takes into account the agent feedback following the call with the customer to improve for the next time. So this is the way that it works, which brings us to the last part of how to act upon the feedback. And again, it's really important to do the closing the loop. And this is another story that we've heard in the X4 conference from ServiceNow, who is not only a Qualtrics customer, but also a Qualtrics partner. And we've done several integrations between Qualtrics and ServiceNow. And it's obviously a B2B company. And what they've learned is that once they do the closing the loop, the quality closing the loop, they gain 19 points higher NPS than with other customers. And this has an overwhelming value. And the point is that the system can do much of the closing the loop also automatically. So looking at the entire architecture of taking into account the behavioral data, the operational data, the experience data, doing the analysis with the text, with the generative AI, with the sentiment and journey and prediction, and offering the dynamic reporting, now the system can offer each stakeholder, whether it's a bot, whether it's an agent, whether it's a team leader, whether it's from the product or marketing, the system offers the call to action. For example, if a customer uses the term bug or issue in the website feedback, a ticket is automatically created in Jira for the web engineering team to address in the next sprint. Another example, if an agent empathy score are trending down, automatically the system schedules a one-to-one coaching session with their manager and include targeted snippets from the relevant conversation, so the manager would know and will have the examples of what they need to talk about with their agent. So almost last, I'll share with you very quickly this this video that shows the demo of everything that we've talked about so far.
For businesses looking to maximize customer loyalty and reduce costs, now more than ever, organizations need to balance improving service quality with operational efficiency. And now with Qualtrics XM for customer frontline care, you can enable your teams to deliver exceptional service at scale. With advanced capabilities like in-the-moment guidance, AI-powered automation, personalized coaching plans, and role-based dashboards, agents, managers, and leaders alike have the tools they need to succeed. For agents, Real-Time Agent Assist helps guide every customer conversation toward the best outcome. It's an agent's best friend, automatically pulling through relevant information about the customer and recommending actions and resources as the conversation happens. And rather than making the agent write up the interaction when the call ends, Qualtrics generates automated call summaries for them, freeing up your agents so they can do what they do best, help your customers. Plus, with Qualtrics Experience ID, customer profiles are constantly being enriched with every interaction, giving you a complete view of the customer, so you can give each one the one-on-one experience they want and expect. You can see their information, their experience history, and how they feel, including satisfaction, intent, and emotion. So you can act on that insight for great service experience at scale. Next, for managers and compliance teams, we have Contact Center Quality Management, which automatically analyzes and intelligently scores 100% of interactions across every channel with speed and precision to ensure quality of service. And it gives team managers targeted insights on how their teams can improve. These insights are accessible in Frontline Team Assist, a personalized portal where managers and agents can track performance, identify specific areas of improvement, and create targeted coaching plans. Finally, using omni-channel analytics, leaders can improve the metrics that matter most to their business, like agent engagement, cost to serve, customer churn, or anything else. Leaders can instantly see what's driving their ROI so they can build on what's working and fix what's not. Consistent, quality service, long-term loyalty, improved operational efficiency. Build your world-class XM program with Qualtrics XM for customer frontline care.
So the key takeaways, and I'll move very quickly. So it's an era of humanized intelligence, connecting at scale both customer experience and employee experience. Avoid the watermelons and gain the diamonds, the real insights. Of course, you cannot scale. You cannot do everything that we've mentioned without technology. But the good news is that the listen, understand, act can happen in different systems. We don't necessarily say, okay, you need to replace all your systems. We suggest that this AI technology could be an overlay on your current technology and do the analysis and action triggering. And for that, we also have very good integration capabilities. And one last thing to remember, it's not only a technology project. You need the relevant processes and governance in place to make it work. And Eric will talk about this later. 3 questions that I want you to think about when you go back to your organization, when you talk near the coffee machine with your colleagues, is first, do we have, ask yourselves, do we have the technology to scale? If we do, what processes and organization we need to put in place to do that? And remember that the better the technology is, the lighter the organization is, because we're moving to more and more automation. Finishing with that, I'm moving this to Eric. How do you get there?
I think that given the time we have, I'd like to get to the slide, Karen, the slide with that one picture, please. Move that, move that. Yeah, I'd like to get direct. It's been a lot of content on you, and as I prepared you already, I said, hopefully you're not going to feel overwhelmed. Hopefully you're not. We started that webinar with a watermelon. You remember, it's green on the outside, but it might be red on the inside. I'd like to close that webinar with a kiwi. It's kind of green, brown at the outside, and it's green, like flashy green in the inside. And it has a lot of little spicy acid seeds that lead you to believe that more is to come. And that's kind of like a good metaphor for what we're trying to achieve here. We started the webinar with 3 questions: the how, the why, and the what. And I would like to relate to the fact that it's all about how you listen, how you understand, and you act. With your company becoming more and more talkative with the chatbot and all the digital technology, we believe that your company needs bigger ears. And like us, we have 1 mouth, 2 ears, and a lot of fingers to do things. So we think that the company should actually have the technology, have the capability to actually listen better and act faster, because everybody's going to talk more thanks to, or because of the technology. So to close, hopefully that webinar was fruitful and you had some key takeaways and insights and numbers that you can relate to in the way that you are going to go back to your company or to your teams to discuss that topic. It may be overwhelming. We have an approach at AKT to take it step by step to help you understand the maturity of your process, your teams, and your technology, and how to move that as an overlay. And in that context, that's what we are good at the scale of your company. And hopefully, that will have be kind of a teaser for you to think about. I'd like to have a one-to-one and discuss our specific case in my company and how that can help me this year, next year, and the next 5 years, given the trend that we have seen on the evolution of the technology. So I would like to thank you all. You nearly stayed all for the entire show with us. So congrats to Karen and Jagrid. That means that they did a good job at bringing the best of their expertise and their experience. Thank you very much to all. We'll be able to share the replay of that. So if you want to review, revise, or share that with your company and your teams and your colleagues, feel free to join us. We'll be delighted to do so. Have a great end of the day. Wish you well and speak to you soon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.